I'm an ENTJ personality who keeps a small circle of friends.
I'm an ENFJ personality with a squad, a crew, a clique, and my girls.
I'm Dr. B. Cooper.
I'm Toyi Elizabeth.
And we're new friends.
This is our How Is It Going episode, right? So what have you learned about me this year and
Well,
through
first
this
of
journey?
all, it feels like longer.
I know.
It really does. And I'm not just saying that for this show. I didn't realize it's only been a year that we've kind of been in this space.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
What have I learned about you? I learned that you are consistent, that who people see you are on Facebook, who they see you are on this podcast, who they see you are at church, who they see, who I see you in this house when we're alone, when we're doing these shows, or when we're talking on the phone. All of those are the same people. Mm-hmm. And the common denominator is that, girl, you believe in Jesus. Listen, I know I've said this before, but that is real.
Yeah, it is.
And you live that life. You live that life, and you live it in a way, to me, that is attractive. Because I am someone who has always been kind of seeking a friend who understood that we're both human and of God. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm with you, I feel that duality in ways that make me feel like, okay, I'm not completely crazy, right? Like, this is possible. You're not judgmental. You are open, but you're firm about what you believe in. So you're not judgmental, which I don't think people think they can be firm in what they believe or stand strong 10 toes down and also not be judgmental. Mm-hmm. But I feel that you're both. You love your family.
I do.
Very much. You love your friends. Friendship is real for you.
It is.
And you bougie. You real bougie.
I'm bougie,
girl.
I'm country. I'm from Appalachia.
Well, that's your persona.
Is it?
Yeah, because honestly, girl, listen, I thought I was. Well, I am bougie.
I was like, you thought you were bougie? Yeah, you're definitely. You are. You're not even bougie, because bougie is that's the Ebonic term. You're bourgeois, hunty. You're bourgeois.
I don't know, girl. All I know is that I drive my own car.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. Do you drive?
Oh, really? That's how you trying to play me?
I
drive when I must drive.
Yes.
I drive. I am not opposed to driving when I must drive. But if I mustn't drive, then I shall not.
Did you just say shan't?
Yes, I shan't not drive.
I shan't not drive. No, but I
don't prefer to drive. No, I don't.
There's this whole movement of like soft girl, I don't know if you've heard of this movie, like being soft, and that's also authentic with you. And we're laughing about both of us being bougie, but
am I soft?
I would say that you understand what it means to rest.
Yes.
You understand what it means to pamper yourself. Right. And it's not at the expense of all the other things you have to do. You on top of your stuff, which I really appreciate. You're very thorough. This has been a wonderful experience for me working with you, because we work similarly, right? You want things to go well. You want them to look great. And at the same time, you know when to just kind of peace out. You've often called yourself insular. And I would second that emotion. You are quite insular, but I feel a part of your world. So I don't feel like you're so insular that I just have to stay away. When I invite myself into your space, because I you're there, you're my friend. There's no question. But when I invite myself into your space, I don't feel like I'm pushing down the door. You open it very willingly. And if you don't feel like it, you'll be honest about it. So I find that what I thought of you on January 7th, 2022 is still, was it 23?
That's this year. Girl, it was this
don't
year.
Make sense. But anyway, 2023.
Well, by the time that people hear this, it will be 2024.
Okay. So it'll be a year. Yeah. It's true. When we were sitting at the table and we were like, me too. And we were like connecting, and the husbands were in another room and we stayed looking at each other in awe, like, I can't believe this is happening. That I still feel that when I'm in your presence.
Oh,
It
wow.
still feels new and exciting. And what journey are we going to go on today? I love it. I love our friendship. I love that what I thought of you a year ago is enhanced, and all of that is positive.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, you're so
yeah.
sweet. This is a love fest. Do you want to know what I know about
Oh
you?
Lord.
What have I learned about you? So, first of all, it's been an amazing year. And I want to thank you for being with me this year because this has been a tough year for me. I've had like a lot of stuff like happen. This was my year of surrender.
Yes.
And when God called me into surrender, I was like, okay, it's my one word. I'm going to surrender to my power. I'm going to surrender to my greatness. I'm going to surrender to what the Lord is doing. I'm going to stop holding back on who I am. That was my intent in the year of surrender. And I did do those things. I stopped pretending to be, less fabulous than I am because I did struggle with that to
Yeah.
make people comfortable, right? I kind of dimmed my light because I didn't want anybody to hurt. I'm big on that. But I still had to surrender to a lot of other things too. I lost my friend,
Yeah.
right? I lost my friend. And that was really hard for me, is really hard for me. But I'm at peace with that. But you got to see that, right? Yeah, my grief, what that looks like. One day I'm up and I'll be like, girl, let's do this. I'm like, girl, I can't do it. I don't feel like it or whatever. So you've been with me through that. But then also, I think the thing that I appreciate most about you is you're so smart. I meet people. When I met you, I thought, because you, Rainbow Johnson, you do let people know immediately. Hello, I'm Dr. Bridget Cooper. Greetings, whatever. But I'm like, okay, great. Because I know a lot of people with degrees that aren't intellectual, right? They're academic. You are academic and intellectual. You engage with the world similar to the way I do. And I think that's part of our commonality is you don't just go through life la 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 la, like you think through what does this mean, what does this do, look at this thing, right? And I love that about you, and it's genuinely who you are. Even the hello, I'm Bridget Cooper, Dr. Bridget Cooper, it's not the same as what other people do. Your declaration is because it's who you are. You're an intellectual. It is intrinsic to who you are. And I actually love it because part of what God has delivered me from, and I'm going to say delivered because I have been delivered from it, and I don't have as visceral responses as I used to, is dumbness. I'm going to keep it 100, right? God had to really deal with me. Like I spent some time teaching, and I remember my line sister was like, I cannot believe, how are you teaching anybody? Because my kids now, later ask me with they go to their daddy for homework because they like, mom be making me feel dumb, So I had to really deal with, like, kind of learn that. And so I have been delivered from that. But I think now that I've learned to respect the spectrum of the way people think, God then brought me a friend that I can have some really deep, nerdy, intellectual, academic conversations while still sniggling, giggling, beanie bonic. Yeah, like I can, and the other thing is that you know my capabilities.
Oh yeah.
And you do you like, you'll clown me because I don't use my full vocabulary.
No, you
do.
don't.
You use your full child, your whole, all the things. And I love that you use your vocabulary. And I love that I can use a lot of my vocabulary. Mine's not as extensive as yours because yours is on something else.
No, I disagree.
But I love that about you. I also, my favorite thing, like if I had to pick, what's my favorite thing over this year is your openness to grow. You are a different person than when I met you. Because when I met you a year ago, you were like, no new friends, but you can be my friend, right? You're like, all right, Steve likes you. All right, let me see, right? And then we vibed, right? Because I'm fabulous, so why would you not want to be my fabulous friend? But your openness to be a friend, your openness to do this show, you've never done this.
No.
I am really like, this is my moment of like, I am in awe of who you are, like as a
Mm-hmm.
person. Like, forget the degrees and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but that you have been open to friendship and
Mm-hmm.
done that.
Mm-hmm.
You and your husband are still on the Renaissance tour, so you're still meeting, his, like, you're doing that, and you're meeting all kinds of new people and letting them into your space. And I know that's not your comfort
Yeah.
zone, but you're open to it. But even doing this,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is a new creative space. You are someone who is like, I'm guarded,
Mm-hmm.
don't come for me unless I call for you,
Yeah.
is now opening yourself up on this podcast and
Mm.
on social media for people to receive you.
Yeah.
And people don't always receive us well.
Right.
Like, you don't know
Yeah.
this. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend Jen, who
Mm.
is a news anchor, and she's been in the game. She has trained me so well, but she's been in the game like 40 years
Yeah.
on network, TV, doing all the things. And I said to her, some people aren't going to like me, or so, I'm cool with that. And she was like, that's how you know you're a public person,
Mm.
right? You are now a public person
Mm-hmm.
because you're doing this show. And I think you have handled it with such grace,
Thank you.
and such openness. I love that. And then I also love that you're just funny as what? You are hilarious. And so I can't imagine. I was like, I want to come to your class because you tell jokes.
Oh,
Your students must love you
yeah.
because you are really funny.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I did not like in the beginning that
Yeah.
I've gotten used to is that you're funny, but you make everybody crack up, and then you sit there like you have not done anything. So the other person, I'm like, now why you keep doing me like this? Because we have pictures, and you're
We do.
like, you're in the picture, and you're like poised, and I'm bent over. My mouth is gaped because you have said some stuff that I'm like, did you just, And so I love all that. I'm like, okay, you gonna quit doing me like that. But you are very gifted at that thing. You are
I am funny.
hilarious.
I tell my students that all the time. I say, and I'm funny. And the people laugh at that. But you know what? You're funny. And
Am
that's,
I?
oh yeah, you're,
I think I'm funny.
I don't know. I don't know what your definition. I mean, I know that I have been seen as funny by a lot of people, but you're witty and funny at the same time. And one of my favorite parts of this podcast is when we're writing to one another. Because I love your writing.
Oh,
And
thank you.
I've said that to you. I've said to you, because I do have standards
I'm
about
like,
writing.
that's big.
Right?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
I do have standards about writing, and you understand how to integrate like some pop cultural stuff into your writing, how to use metaphor. To me, that's a big
Oh,
deal.
yes. You
I
have
told you that
metaphor.
once before, but also how to tell a story. You know how to tell a story. The podcast will be a representation of that. And in your stories, it may not be as in your face as the big E with the lights shining, but if you know there are some really funny moments that come through what you're saying. And I love that about you, because I know one of the things that you're very serious about is letting people know that Jesus is real, and that y'all need to come to him. And I love the moments when you allow yourself to be funny, and you only allow yourself to do that because you know that I everything else you are, I see it and I
Yeah,
receive it.
that's
So
real.
that's why you allow yourself to be funny with me.
That's real.
But we have those moments when I'm laughing, girl. I don't laugh at everything, and and I have a
Yeah.
very recognizable laugh. They come from here, and it tells me about the joy that you experience. I know that you have had a year because you're so open to your friends, and I've come to really respect that. You said that I've changed a lot since last year. It's partially because of you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I mean, my daughter has intervened in the past. My not my sister so much. My sister and I have a lot in common when it comes to being guarded, but my daughter has tried to intervene. It was something about meeting someone in my age group with similar experiences from the Midwest, in my sorority, believer of God. Like we had so
Yeah.
many points of contact that allowed myself to also learn from you. I woke up the other day hurting for you.
Mm.
And I told you that. And I was, girl, I almost beat myself because I don't like being emotional. So I was like, girl,
Right.
if you don't get yourself together.
Uh-huh.
But I was hurting for my friend because I was like, she really, like, that kind of love is the kind of love that I tell my daughter to open herself up to. And sometimes I realize that I've only done it for a few people,
Mm.
because
Mm.
your heart gets broken, and that's part of the fear of opening up. It may get broken because somebody does something directly, or they may just die.
Yeah,
Like, that's a scary, hurtful thing.
it is.
And you're talking about grace, watching you go through this period where I feel you. It's inspiring.
Oh, wow.
It's very
Thank
inspiring.
you.
And I love you even more. Don't use that word a lot, but when I use it, I mean it. Um, we couldn't do something last week because you were going through that period, and you said, let's do it this week. And I changed my life because I'm like, she's important to me.
Mm.
So you're very important to me. And
Thank you.
you're super smart. People just have to watch the podcast to see that, right?
Yeah.
You're quick on your feet, and I know that's not your necessarily always what you're promoting, but that's why I connect with you, because I do like people who think deeply. And it's not just because I'm an elitist, and I am. I'm not going to say I'm not that too, but more so because that is where wholeness comes from for me.
Yeah.
When people are able to think about things from different angles, you're
Mm-hmm.
definitely that person. So I want to give you the same credit that you're giving me. You are very smart, and
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. But you're super smart. So it's funny because you always say to me, like, we're being cute. I'm cute today because we're on this camera.
And you're also
Right?
cute.
I am not cute. But you are cute all the time. Like you do the things like every day. Like you do not show up
Hmm.
unless you look right. Like you about that life, right?
Yeah.
And that takes energy and focus and time. I 2 days ago had on a pair of sweatpants that were about 3 sizes too big for me, and a sweatshirt that had Jesus on it that was also 3 sizes too big for me. I had a ball on top of my hair and some mascara. And
And
this
you
is
were
what it is. And
cute.
I went out the door like
Yeah.
that. And I was like, and if anybody say anything to me, I'm be like, I'm grieving. And then that'll just be, oh, and then we keep it moving.
But you're naturally beautiful. I mean,
Thank you.
I come from a family of tailors and beauticians. It's a natural default for me
Mm.
to just pull it together. And also, I'm from the Midwest in a way that you are from Chicago. You don't leave the house. I mean, you get critiqued. You leave the house. Even though we see people walking around with bonnets on, that was not my experience. My
Right.
experience was you dress like you might meet somebody important. So that
Yeah.
is how I show up.
Like, tell us what your PhD is in again.
Rhetoric, language literacy, and rhetoric.
Language literacy and rhetoric. That's
Yeah,
correct. I said linguistics, but same thing.
yeah,
Right?
similar.
Same,
Yeah,
similar, right?
yes.
But yes, so you words are your thing,
Mhm.
right? You are a doctor of words. You are well studied
Yes.
in words, which is why, honey, you can throw some shade with the best of them. Now, I don't know if the people heard it, but in your this is and I do this and I'm great because people be out here in these bonnets. You said that you just threw that out. Let me throw this out here. If you coming out the house in a bonnet, you better get yourself together. That's what I just heard. And you do it with such grace. You're like, yes, because I grew up in this way, and this is it. So I know people wearing bonnets now, but so anybody with a bonnet is like in their car listening, like, let me take this bonnet off before I go into the store, as they should, in my opinion.
Yes,
But
yes.
that's my opinion. Right. I have watched you handle a lot. You came into this world,
Mhm.
right? This world that is, the black excellence of the metropolitan New York.
Mhm.
And you have entered with grace and you have shouldered a lot. I have seen the difference in how you handle a comment in January of this year versus how you handle it in December.
Yeah.
And it's not the same.
Mm.
Right. And I would probably, I can probably be honest, is that we would still be friends,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely, but we wouldn't be as close as we are if I hadn't seen that, if you were still popping off, we are us, like you said. Jesus was 100% human and 100% God. And what you said is like, we represent God. We're 100% human and represent God. And that representation is the tap on the shoulder from the Holy Spirit. So don't say it like that. Don't do it like that. And I have really leaned into that. And so have you. I also said that I knew I was your friend. Like I knew you had moved into a friend space because if someone does say something, all of my African, everything
Your
from
South
my
African
everything
Kosa.
cut all up. And I feel the need to do that, and I'm still working on that because I'm the kind of person who, like, you could do whatever to me. Like, you could cuss me, and people would cuss me to my face, say whatever, and I just be like, oh my gosh, you're having a bad day, or I understand your situation in life, so this is why you're acting. Like, I have so much grace for people who offend me, right? Because I'm always putting that in the context of the grace God has given me. But if you mess with my friends, I'll be like, what? And so one of the things I'm working on is to extend that grace in those situations, because in those situations, I'm like Peter, like, you coming for Jesus, I'm gonna cut your ear off. Like, what you say? Because of who I am and because of the life, I choose every day to represent God. I choose every day to lean into faith. It does not mean that when you say whatever the crazy thing you said about my friends or about my whatever, that I will not come for you. The only reason, and so that is also part of ministry for me, because I will let people know, right now, I don't know if you know Jesus or not, but you should thank Jesus, because right now it is the Holy Spirit that is constraining me not to, like, hurt your feelings because what you said to my friend.
No, now that's real. And also, I just have to say, this is a superficial thing that I love. I love you gave me the phrase, that thing. I love that phrase. That thing. I love that. I love it so much. I use it a lot now, but also, you are such a protector. Like, I appreciate that you see and hear me. Like, I don't know if I need that from everybody, but I do need to know that there are people like that. My husband does that for me, my sister, my children. To have a girlfriend that I respect and that I, appreciate, and I look at her life and I'm like, there are aspects of her life that I really, wouldn't even mind adopting into my own. Like the fact that you're such a creative, and at my core I am, and that you took that leap, and that it is exactly where God wanted you to be. I really admire that, right? I come from such a working class community that I don't know. I have very often thought, what will I do if I don't get a monthly this? Or what will I happen if things aren't, exactly played out for me? And you've had me to begin thinking about that in a responsible way, right? In a way like, what? Are there other questions to ask yourself? Are there other ways to think about how you want to move? Are there other desires or other things you have to do that God has for you to do that you're getting in your own way for? So I don't have a resolution for that, but I really do appreciate that, because you see me and because you hear me, even to the point that, you said something you didn't like before. I remember when you first said to me, I try to prepare people for you. And I was like, that was kind of jarring. And then after a while, I was like, you know what? Hey, this is not the first time, because I am a lot. And B, I really appreciate that she verbalized that, because I need that, right? I need somebody to intervene, and also to say, Bridget, I know how you're going to be better. Like, I know what's going to be better for you. I appreciate that. It's nice to know that there are other people out there saying, you know what, I care enough about her where I will say the hard things, and see where it lands. And usually it lands very well for me.
I love that you can take that, because the way I said it to you, I felt very comfortable knowing you, that I can just say to you, girl, I'm not introducing you to A, B, C, and D, because it's just not going to work. Right. And also, but all of my friends, I have those relationships. So it's not like that the three people
Yeah.
I also didn't say to them, they're like, oh, I love the
Absolutely.
podcast. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to like her.
Right.
Like, I just know that it's not. And it's because I love both of you. I love all of you, right? But it's like, it's because I know this, right? I know the way you mean things when you say them. And I know the way they receive things when they hear them. And until there is a space where I feel strong enough, and I have too much going on, so I don't feel strong enough to translate, right? It's not like forever. I'm not gonna, but it's like I need to be in a space in my life where I can translate, right? And I said this, we were out to dinner with friends and I was explaining to them, and I was like, she'll say this to you, but she'll mean this thing, and then you'll take it this way. And then her husband was like, she definitely would take it that way. And then when I told you the story, you said, that's exactly what I would have meant. Exactly. I was like, I know, because I know my friends.
I love that about you. I love that.
I know my friends.
Yeah.
And so until it can't be a space where it can't be like a party with 12 people where I'm not standing there. Because if I can't translate, then now y'all both left hating each other forever. And now I got to deal with that. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to do that, because I know the value in all of you. I know the value in all of you. And so, but I do appreciate, the thing I appreciate about you is that I can just say to you, like, girl, no, because we have that in common.
Yes.
First of all, I'm like a productivity person, probably almost to a fault, a productivity and efficiency person, almost to a fault. Also, because as a writer, part of editing is say what you have to say in the least amount of words possible. That's good writing.
That's right.
How can you say this differently? The least amount of words possible. So when people are communicating with me, I'm also like, you didn't have to say all that. I've learned the sandwich, as a former executive who had to, I gotta say something nice, and I gotta say something nice on the front and the back, and I'm gonna put the constructive thing in the middle. My bosses knew, don't hit me with I know I'm great. What do you want me to work on?
Absolutely.
Right. And I know that you're that way because we've had those discussions. So as we talk through that, it's like, yeah, I can say this, to you and understand that. But I also have friends that I can't wait for you to meet because I think okay, this is going to be, but there are also people who I know process information the same way. You know what I'm saying?
And well, I love what you said about how you give construct. This is why it works, right? I've said this before in spaces, and people wait until there's a problem to give constructive criticism. You can't do that. Right. And what I love about you is that it just comes in natural conversation. We're just having a natural conversation. You're like, by the way, and that's why it works. It doesn't just work because we have great energy with each other. You also have great instincts, right? Like one of the reasons why I've had friendships where I've not had big blow-ups. I've had some where I have. But one of the reasons why we stay in this space is because your instinct is, why don't we talk about some things now while we're in a good place?
Oh, yeah.
And, both of us have that instinct with one another. It may be shocking for 30 seconds, but then the reason why I can receive from you, because I'm like, well, there is no real reason for me. Like nothing happened. Like, we're just setting boundaries, and we're good at that. If I could say what we're good at together, it's like we're intentional in this friendship. We're like, we decided that this is a friendship that's worth fostering, that's worth building. And so because we've been through a lot with people, I feel that this might be the moment to say this, nothing has happened, but this may be the moment to kind of enter this into the conversation. And I do think, because all relationships do, when we have that rough patch, we'll have that foundation.
Yeah. We'll have this is how we do.
Yes.
This is how we engage.
Yes.
This is how we problem solve, or whatever it is. I also think that I'm thinking through this and I'm like, well, yes, it's been a year, but a lot has happened in the year. Like you have had very momentous things happen. You got married.
I got married.
Right? You got married. And when I met you, you were not married.
Yes.
You got married. I had a health thing, and then I lost a friend, and so real life stuff has happened. I was on strike for
Yes.
5 months.
Yes.
And I'll never forget when you said to me, after my little health thing, you were like, I don't think that you are, and you did not, and this is one of those things that I could receive from you because of who I am, that other people would not have received. They would have been like, she does not know me. And so what you said to me was, I'm not sure that you have considered how this strike is affecting you physically, and how your inability to create and live the creative life that you were living, and what this is doing. Because you're right, I am a person that powers through. I'm like, okay, we're on strike. This is happening to not just me. Because I try very hard not to make the thing like me. People, like, some people made the pandemic like about them. Like, oh, I can't do. I'm like, the whole world can't do it. Get over it. Like, I'm that. To a fault, like it, love it. I don't care. This is what it is. I'm like, it's not just happening to you. You're not the only one that can't go in the sanctuary. Like, relax. Right. And so it was the same thing with the strike. I processed the strike that way. Like, I'm not the only one. I'm not even at the top of my game. There's some people who are at the top of their games, and they lost a lot of money. The little $5 I lost, like, okay, I can make that up someplace else. But I didn't think through the impact of it on me, and wearing my body down, and the things that I did. And so I really received that, and started looking at other ways to create. And that is how I ended up finally going into the contract, with Audible to do the Toyi Elizabeth, the audiobook.
Yes.
I pushed back on that. I am not an audiobook. I like to read, right? And I'm a writer, so I like to look at the page and but you kind of got me over that hump, and that was big. But I received what you said. My first instinct was, yeah, how you know? You don't know me. But it was wisdom, and then right after that, you got married, and there's that piece of the video that you sent, which is like, to me, it is classic us. Like, if people ask, like, who are they? You need to see this, because we're off in the back. Who knew? We didn't know we were on camera. We
did not know we were on camera.
And we were being us.
Yes,
laughing,
we were.
saying things. And so I appreciate that so much about you. And I think what this whole piece boils down to is what we said in episode 1 of how we became friends, is that you're good with who you are and you're authentic. I'm good with who I am and I'm authentic. And because we're both showing up as us, it just feels good.
It does feel good.
Yeah.
And I think that also is the overarching message, to the audience, which is, sometimes that's enough. When it feels good, you don't have to overthink all of that. What if, and what, it feels good, and go with that. And that's what, for me, that's where we are now.